Victoria Caputo, daughter of Long Island medium star Theresa Caputo, has been hospitalized after her twins were taken ill. Sitting alone, Victoria was crying for her beloved children. Her worries and suffering seemed to be endless. Seeing this scene, Victoria's father, Larry Caputo, rushed to the hospital, but Theresa Caputo, furious and angry, kicked her husband out of the hospital. Everyone was shocked by Theresa's behavior, as if there was no place for her mother's anger and exclusive decisions. Victoria Caputo sat in the sterile, cold waiting room of the hospital, her face tear-streaked and pale. Her twins, the light of her life, had fallen severely ill, and the uncertainty of their condition was like a weight pressing against her chest. Each minute felt like an eternity, and she couldn't shake the feeling of helplessness. As a mother, she had always promised to protect them, but today she was powerless. She glanced at the clock, her mind racing through every possible scenario. Her thoughts were interrupted when the door creaked open and her father, Larry Caputo, stepped inside, his face etched with concern. He had heard the news and rushed to be by her side, determined to comfort her in her darkest moment. Victoria. Larry's voice was soft as he walked over, gently taking a seat beside her. His hand rested on her trembling shoulder, trying to offer some sense of reassurance. "We'll get through this. The doctors are doing everything they can." Victoria nodded, her lips quivering, but the weight of worry still seemed to suffocate her. "I just don't know what to do, Dad. What if something happens to them? I can't lose them." Larry's eyes softened, his own pain reflecting in the worry lines on his face. "You're not alone in this. We'll fight together." But as they spoke, the door to the room swung open once again. This time, it was Theresa Caputo, Victoria's mother. However, the warmth that Larry had brought with him was quickly overshadowed by the storm that followed in Theresa's wake. Her face was flushed with anger, her lips pressed into a tight, thin line. Without a word, she stormed toward her daughter. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" Theresa's voice was harsh, trembling with frustration. "Why didn't you call me?" Victoria looked up, her eyes red. "Mom, I'm sorry, but I couldn't. I couldn't think straight." Theresa's gaze flickered with something more than concern. It was fury. "I don't care how you feel. I am your mother, and I deserve to know when my grandchildren are sick." Victoria stood up, wiping her face with trembling hands. "Mom, I don't need this right now. I'm doing the best I can." Theresa's eyes flared, and she stepped forward, her anger boiling over. "You don't know what's best. I've been through this before. I know how to handle things. You don't need him here." She pointed an accusing finger toward Larry, her voice rising. Larry stood up, his voice calm but firm. "Theresa, enough. I'm here for my daughter. I'm not going anywhere." But Theresa was far past reason. "Get out," she yelled. "You're not welcome here. You've been useless, and now you're just a distraction. This is about our children, and you're in the way." Everyone in the room froze in shock. The tension in the air was thick enough to cut with a knife. Larry's face fell, and without a word, he turned and walked out of the room, the sound of his footsteps echoing down the hall. Victoria was left standing there, torn between her mother's anger and her father's hurt. She couldn't understand why her mother had to lash out like this, not at a time like this. She wanted to scream, to make her mother see reason, but the tears wouldn't stop. "Mom, why did you do that?" Victoria whispered, her voice breaking. Theresa's expression softened just slightly, though the anger still lingered. "Because I'm trying to protect you. You're my daughter, and I don't want you to hurt. I don't want you to make the same mistakes I made." Victoria shook her head, stepping back. "This isn't about you, Mom. It's about my children, and I need all the support I can get. Not more fighting, not more anger." Theresa's mouth opened to respond, but the words didn't come. She just stood there, looking at her daughter, the silent weight of her actions beginning to settle over her like a cold blanket. As the minutes ticked by, both women sat in silence, the hospital room feeling colder than it ever had before. Would they be able to mend the rift? Would they learn to put their differences aside in the face of what truly mattered? Only time would tell. But for now, Victoria's heartache remained, the fear for her children still all-consuming. And in the distance, the echo of Larry's departure was a reminder that love and family could sometimes be the hardest battles of all. However, once upon a time, in a small town on Long Island, lived a woman named Anna. She was a staunch skeptic, someone who doubted everything that couldn't be explained by science. Anna had heard about Theresa Caputo, the famous Long Island medium, and thought it was all a bunch of theatrics. But little did she know, her life was about to change in ways she never imagined. Anna had always been a firm believer that there was no such thing as life after death. One rainy evening, while scrolling through social media, she came across a post about Theresa's upcoming live show. Curious but dismissive, Anna decided to attend, more to prove how absurd it all was than anything else. As she sat in the crowded theater, watching Theresa speak with families, Anna couldn't help but roll her eyes. But then something extraordinary happened. Theresa paused in front of Anna and began to speak directly to her. "There's a man with you," Theresa said, her eyes locked with Anna's. "He's holding a watch. It belonged to you. It was a gift, and it's a memory of a lost love." Anna's heart skipped a beat. Her father had passed away a year ago, and he had given her a vintage watch that had always meant so much to her. The room grew silent as Theresa continued, describing the watch in detail, something Anna had never mentioned to anyone. "This is your father, Anna. He's telling you that he's proud of you. You don't have to worry. He's with you always." The skeptic was stunned. Tears welled up in her eyes as she realized that there was no way Theresa could have known about the watch or the emotional significance behind it. For the first time, Anna questioned everything she had believed. A few months later, Anna was hesitant but curious. She decided to meet Theresa for a private reading, still unsure but hoping for some kind of closure. During the reading, Theresa became quiet for a moment, her gaze far away. "Your grandmother is here," Theresa said, her voice soft but firm. "She's holding on to something for you, a piece of jewelry. It was important to her, and it was passed down to you. It's in your drawer, tucked away." Anna was speechless. Her grandmother had passed away when Anna was just a child, and she had inherited a ring from her that she kept hidden in her jewelry box. No one had ever known about it. Theresa continued, "She's showing me the ring, Anna. She wants you to wear it more often. It will bring you peace. And she says you need to stop carrying the guilt. It's time to forgive yourself." Anna's skepticism was now melting away. There was no logical explanation for what had just happened. Theresa was tapping into something beyond the physical world, something that couldn't be denied. Months passed, and Anna had become increasingly open-minded about the possibility of a spiritual world. But she still had one unanswered question. Could someone from her past, someone she had never fully reconciled with, reach out through Theresa? She had lost touch with her childhood best friend, Emily, after a bitter argument years ago. They had never spoken again. Despite trying to move on, Anna always carried the weight of the unresolved friendship. Theresa sat across from Anna during their third reading and closed her eyes. A deep silence filled the room. "Emily," Theresa whispered. "She's here, Anna. She wants to tell you she's sorry. She regrets how things ended. She wants you to know she's forgiven you, and she hopes you can forgive her too." Anna gasped. Emily had passed away unexpectedly in a car accident just a few years earlier. Anna had never had a chance to make amends, and she always wondered if Emily had ever forgiven her. Theresa's voice was steady and comforting as she relayed Emily's message. She says it's time to let go of the past, heal, and know that she's at peace. In that moment, Anna felt a deep sense of healing wash over her. The weight of years of guilt and regret melted away. She no longer needed the answers she had spent years searching for. Emily had forgiven her, and now it was time for Anna to forgive herself. By the end of her readings with Theresa Caputo, Anna had completely transformed. The hardened skeptic had turned into a believer, not just in Theresa's abilities, but in the idea that there was something beyond what could be seen and explained. The messages she received were more than just words. They were experiences that touched her soul and changed her perspective on life, death, and the power of forgiveness. In the years that followed, Anna became an advocate for others to open their hearts and minds to the possibility of the spiritual world. She often shared her story with friends and family, and while not everyone believed, Anna knew deep down that what she had experienced was real. Theresa Caputo, the Long Island medium, had not just changed Anna's mind, she had changed her life forever. However, Theresa Caputo, the famous Long Island medium, had always been known for her incredible ability to communicate with the spirit world. But there was something that no one could quite see, the way her heart spoke to Larry. It wasn't just her psychic abilities that made her unique, but the love and connection she shared with him. Larry, a down-to-earth guy from Long Island, had met Theresa years ago at a local cafe. She was sitting at a corner table, sipping coffee when he noticed her. Her blonde hair, big glasses, and warm smile drew him in. But it was her presence. There was something ethereal about her that truly caught his attention. As their eyes met, he instantly felt like he knew her, as though she had been part of his life for much longer than a chance meeting would suggest. "You're going to think I'm crazy," Theresa had said, after Larry sat down beside her. "But I feel something special about you." Larry laughed nervously. "I thought you were the one who talked to spirits, not the one reading people's auras." Theresa smiled, her eyes twinkling with mischief. "I can sense things about people, Larry, and I feel a deep connection to you." Over time, their relationship grew. It wasn't just about the obvious chemistry between them, but the unspoken understanding that Theresa's world wasn't always easy to navigate. Being able to talk to spirits wasn't something most people could comprehend, but Larry embraced it wholeheartedly. He knew that she saw things others couldn't, things that often made her feel isolated. Larry became her rock, the one who could ground her when the spirits grew overwhelming, and when the weight of the messages from beyond took a toll. They spent evenings walking along the beach, enjoying the peace of Long Island's quiet shores. It was there that Theresa, feeling the cool ocean breeze against her skin, would sometimes pause to listen as if the spirits had something to say. One night, as they stood near the water's edge, Theresa turned to Larry, her voice trembling. "I had a feeling today, Larry. I heard someone say something about the future." Larry, always patient and steady, raised an eyebrow. "What did they say?" "That we're meant to be together," Theresa said, her heart full of emotion. "That we have a bond that's timeless." Larry smiled softly, taking her hand in his. "I've always known that. You don't need spirits to tell me that. I felt it from the moment I met you." From that moment on, their love was no longer just a beautiful mystery. It was a connection forged between two souls, one that transcended both the physical world and the spiritual realm. He wasn't just Theresa's husband. He was the one who believed in her when no one else could, the one who loved her with all her gifts and imperfections. Theresa had always believed in love, but Larry showed her a kind of love that was grounded in reality. No matter what the spirits said or how many readings she performed, he was her home. Together, they created a life filled with warmth, laughter, and understanding. One that, no matter how strange it seemed to the outside world, was more real than anything Theresa had ever felt. And as they continued to live their lives together on Long Island, the world beyond never stopped communicating with Theresa. But no matter how many spirits came to her, it was Larry's presence that she felt most deeply in her heart. They were meant to be, not just in this life, but in whatever came next. However, Theresa Caputo, the famous Long Island medium, was known for her extraordinary ability to connect with the spirits of loved ones who had passed. One quiet afternoon, she was preparing for another day of readings when a young boy named Noah and his mother, Sarah, walked into her home. Noah was only 9 years old, but he carried a heaviness that made him seem much older. His face was drawn with sadness, and his eyes held a deep sorrow. Sarah, his mother, had been referred to Theresa by a close friend, hoping for some closure after a devastating loss. The family had recently lost Noah's older sister, Emily, in a tragic accident, and Noah had been struggling with the pain of losing her. Theresa greeted them warmly, offering comfort in her usual gentle way. "Noah, I know this is hard, but I want you to know you're not alone. Sometimes, the people we love find ways to let us know they're still with us," she said, her voice soft and reassuring. Noah nodded, but his eyes betrayed a deep sadness. "I miss Emily," he whispered, his voice trembling. Theresa smiled kindly. "I know you do, sweetheart, and guess what? Emily is here with us today. She's been waiting to talk to you." Noah's eyes widened, his heart skipping a beat. "Really? How do you know?" Theresa closed her eyes for a moment, as if tuning into another frequency. When she opened them, she looked at Noah with a sense of certainty. "She says you've been carrying around something heavy, something you haven't told anyone about. She wants you to know that it's okay to let go of that burden now." Noah's lip quivered, and a tear slid down his cheek. I never told anyone. I was with her the day she passed. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't even tell her I loved her." Theresa placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. "Noah, Emily knows. She wants you to understand that it wasn't your fault. You didn't have to say goodbye because love never truly ends. It's always there, even when we can't see the person. She's still with you, and she's proud of you." The room grew still as Theresa conveyed Emily's message, her voice gentle yet filled with profound wisdom. "She tells me you've been having dreams of her. Is that right?" Noah nodded, wiping his eyes. "Yes, but she's always just out of reach. Like she's trying to tell me something, but I can't hear her." Theresa smiled again. "That's Emily reaching out. Sometimes our loved ones communicate in ways that feel impossible to understand. But they're always trying to send us signs, to let us know they're okay, and that they're watching over us." As Noah listened, his expression began to soften. Theresa continued, "Emily wants you to be happy again. She wants you to find joy in the world, even without her. She says, remember the good times, the laughter, and the love we shared." Noah wiped his eyes, feeling a sense of peace he hadn't known in months. "I miss her so much, but I think I can be happy again. I think I can remember her without feeling so sad all the time." Theresa's voice was filled with compassion as she concluded, "Emily will always be a part of you, Noah. The love you shared is eternal, and as long as you carry her memory, she will never truly be gone." Noah smiled through his tears, feeling a weight lift from his heart. For the first time in a long time, he felt a sense of peace, knowing that his sister's love was still with him. As they said their goodbyes, Sarah whispered to Theresa, "Thank you. You've given him something I couldn't. You've given him hope." Theresa nodded, offering one last reassuring smile. "That's the gift of love. It never truly leaves us." And as Noah walked out of Theresa's home, he felt a little lighter, knowing that his sister, Emily, was never truly gone. She was simply a heartbeat away. Hello, lovely viewers. Welcome to my channel. I am Mina. Hope your day is so well. If you liked the video, don't forget to subscribe the channel.